The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as I sat in the sterile waiting area of First National Bank, my hands trembling slightly as I clutched the leather portfolio my father had insisted I bring. At 19, I had never felt so small, so powerless, yet something deep inside me burned with a quiet determination that even I didn't fully understand yet. "Emma, sweetheart, you need to trust me on this," Dad had said that morning, his voice carrying that familiar tone of patronizing authority. "This is all very complicated financial stuff. You wouldn't understand it anyway. Just sign where I tell you to sign, and everything will be taken care of." But I did understand, more than he realized. According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. 3 months earlier, my grandmother, my beloved Nana Rose, had passed away after a long battle with cancer. She had been my anchor, my confidant, the one person who truly believed in my dreams of becoming a veterinarian. While my father had always dismissed my ambitions as impractical nonsense, Nana Rose had quietly encouraged me, even going so far as to set aside money for my education. The reading of her will had been a shock to everyone, especially my father. She had left me her entire estate, the beautiful Victorian house on Maple Street, her life savings of nearly $400,000, and most importantly, her late husband's vintage car collection that was worth at least another $200,000. To my father, she had left only a token, $5,000, and a handwritten note that simply read, "You know why." I remembered the color draining from Dad's face as the lawyer read those words, the tightness around his eyes, the way his jaw clenched. For years, I had wondered about the tension between him and Nana Rose, the way conversations would stop when I entered a room, the cold politeness that masked something much deeper. That night, Dad had sat me down with a glass of wine, unusual since I was still underage, but he insisted it would help me understand the gravity of the situation. "Emma, honey, inheriting this much money at your age? It's dangerous. You're not equipped to handle this kind of responsibility. People will try to take advantage of you. The smart thing, the responsible thing, would be to let me manage everything until you're older, more mature." I had nodded along, playing the part of the naive teenager, but inside alarm bells were ringing. Something about his eagerness, the way he kept emphasizing how complicated and overwhelming it all was, felt wrong. That's when I started paying attention. I noticed how he began intercepting my mail, how he suddenly insisted on driving me everywhere, keeping me isolated from friends and extended family, how he started making comments about how I clearly wasn't college material and should consider practical alternatives like working at his insurance office. The final piece of the puzzle came when I overheard a phone conversation he thought I couldn't hear. "No, she trusts me completely," he was saying to someone. "Once I get her to sign the papers, I'll have power of attorney over everything. The house, the cars, all of it. She's too young and stupid to know what she's signing anyway." The person on the other end said something I couldn't make out, and then Dad laughed, a cold, calculating sound I had never heard from him before. "Are you kidding? After what that old witch put me through? This is justice. She wanted to cut me out? Fine. But her precious granddaughter isn't going to benefit either. The money should have been mine in the first place." My blood ran cold. Everything clicked into place. The years of being told I wasn't smart enough, wasn't capable enough, wasn't worthy enough. The way he had sabotaged my relationship with Nana Rose near the end, claiming she was too sick for visitors, when I later learned she had been asking for me constantly. That night, I made my plan. I spent the next 2 weeks playing the perfect naive daughter. I asked innocent questions about the complicated financial stuff, nodded eagerly when he explained why signing everything over to him was for my own good, and even thanked him for looking out for me. All the while, I was researching, preparing, and most importantly, documenting everything. I found Nana Rose's old digital camera and began secretly recording our conversations. I took photos of the documents he was preparing, careful to get clear shots of the headers and fine print. Most crucially, I reached out to the one person I knew I could trust, Mrs. Patterson, Nana Rose's old friend who worked as a paralegal downtown. When I showed her the documents and recordings, her face went white. "Emma, these papers would give your father complete control over your inheritance. You'd be signing away your rights to everything, the house, the money, even your grandmother's personal effects. This isn't management. This is theft." She helped me understand exactly what I was facing and, more importantly, what I could do about it. The morning of our bank appointment, I was ready. "Mr. Morrison, Ms. Morrison, please come in," said the bank manager, a professional woman in her 50s with kind but shrewd eyes. "I'm Sarah Chen, and I'll be handling your account restructuring today." My father immediately took charge, launching into his rehearsed speech about my immaturity and the complex nature of the inheritance. Ms. Chen listened politely, occasionally nodding, but I noticed her eyes kept flicking to me, studying my reactions. "I see," she said when he finished. "And Emma, you're comfortable with these arrangements?" Before I could answer, Dad jumped in. "Oh, she's completely on board." "Aren't you, sweetheart? She knows this is what's best." I gave him a sweet smile. "Of course, Daddy. I trust you completely." But as I said it, I carefully slipped a folded piece of paper across the desk to Ms. Chen, concealing it under the edge of the documents my father had brought. Ms. Chen's expression didn't change, but I saw, her palm, the note. "Well then," she said, "let's review these documents together. Emma, since you're the account holder, I need to go through each section with you personally. It's bank policy." My father shifted uncomfortably. "Is that really necessary?" "Like I said, it's all very technical." "I'm afraid it is necessary, Mr. Morrison. The law requires that Ms. Morrison understand exactly what she's signing." Ms. Chen's tone was pleasant but firm. "Emma, this first document would grant your father power of attorney over your entire inheritance. Do you understand what that means?" "It means he'll take care of everything for me," I said, maintaining my innocent act. "Not exactly. It means he would have legal authority to make all financial decisions without your input or consent. He could sell your grandmother's house, liquidate your accounts, or invest your money however he sees fit, all without asking your permission." I saw my father's jaw tighten. "Sarah, you're frightening her unnecessarily. This is a standard arrangement for young inheritors." "Actually, Mr. Morrison, it's not standard at all." Ms. Chen had opened my note and was reading it carefully. "In fact, what you're proposing is quite unusual for someone Emma's age, particularly given the size of her inheritance." She turned to me. "Emma, your note says you have some concerns about these arrangements. Would you like to discuss them privately?" My father's face went red. "What note?" "Emma, what did you—" "It's okay, Daddy," I said, my voice still sweet, but with an edge he was finally beginning to recognize. "I think it's time we had an honest conversation." Ms. Chen pressed a button on her desk. "Security to conference room A, please." "Security?" My father's voice cracked slightly. "What's going on here?" I reached into my purse and pulled out a small digital recorder, placing it on the table. "Would you like me to play the conversation where you told someone I was too young and stupid to know what I was signing? Or maybe the part where you said Nana Rose was a witch and that this was justice? The color drained from his face completely now. Emma, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. My voice was calm, steady, nothing like the frightened teenager he thought he was manipulating. I understand that for months you've been planning to steal my inheritance. I understand that you kept me away from Nana Rose when she was dying because you knew she wanted to warn me about you. I understand that you've been systematically trying to undermine my confidence and intelligence so I'd be easier to control. Ms. Chen was taking notes now, her expression grim. Mr. Morrison, attempted financial exploitation of a family member is a serious crime. The recordings Ms. Morrison has provided constitute evidence of fraud and conspiracy. She's lying, he exploded, his careful facade finally cracking completely. She's just a kid. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm not lying, I said quietly, and I'm not just a kid. I'm a legal adult with a 3.8 GPA who's been accepted to 3 pre-veterinary programs. I've been managing my own part-time job and finances for 2 years. The only reason you ever called me stupid or incapable was to make me believe it. 2 security guards had entered the room now, standing quietly by the door but ready to act if necessary. Ms. Chen cleared her throat. Mr. Morrison, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. We'll be turning this matter over to the police and the district attorney's office. You can't do this, he shouted, standing up so abruptly his chair toppled backward. She's my daughter. I was trying to protect her. From what? I asked, standing to face him. From having the education Nana Rose wanted me to have? From living in the house she loved? From having the financial security to chase my dreams instead of working for you for minimum wage for the rest of my life? He stared at me, and for a moment I saw something flicker across his face. Surprise, maybe even a hint of respect, before the anger returned. You have no idea what you've done, he said coldly. No idea what you're getting yourself into. I know exactly what I'm doing, I replied. I'm honoring Nana Rose's wishes and protecting what she left me, what she meant for me to have. The security guards escorted him out, his threats and accusations echoing down the hallway until the doors closed behind them. In the sudden quiet of the conference room, Ms. Chen turned to me with a mixture of admiration and concern. Emma, that was incredibly brave, but also incredibly risky. If you hadn't had that evidence, if you hadn't been so prepared. I learned from the best, I said, thinking of Nana Rose and all the stories she'd told me about standing up to bullies and fighting for what was right. She always told me that intelligence isn't just about knowing facts, it's about knowing when and how to use what you know. Over the next few weeks, the fallout was intense, but ultimately liberating. My father was arrested and charged with attempted fraud and financial exploitation. The case made local news, which was embarrassing but also validating. Suddenly, everyone could see that I wasn't the helpless, naive girl he'd painted me to be. More importantly, the truth about his relationship with Nana Rose finally came to light. Through family friends and old documents, I learned that he had been slowly stealing from her for years, small amounts at first, then larger sums as her memory began to fail. When she discovered what he was doing, she had cut him off completely and restructured her will to protect what remained. The note she'd left him, "You know why," wasn't cryptic at all. It was a final statement that she knew exactly what he'd been doing and exactly why he deserved nothing more. 6 months later, I was sitting in my first college classroom, surrounded by other pre-veterinary students who took my intelligence for granted instead of constantly questioning it. I had sold one of Nana Rose's cars to pay for tuition and living expenses, but kept her favorite, a 1967 Mustang convertible that she'd always promised would be mine someday. The house on Maple Street was mine now too, and on weekends I would drive back to take care of it, tending the garden Nana Rose had loved and slowly making it my own. Sometimes I would sit in her old rocking chair on the front porch and think about the woman who had seen my potential when no one else would, who had fought to make sure I had every opportunity to become who I was meant to be. My father never apologized. Even after his conviction, even after the court-ordered restitution, he maintained that he had been trying to protect me. But I didn't need his apology anymore. His opinion of my intelligence, my capabilities, my worth, none of it mattered. What mattered was that I had learned the most important lesson Nana Rose ever taught me. That sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones you have to be most careful around. That trust should be earned, not assumed. And that when someone tries to make you smaller, weaker, or less than you are, fighting back isn't just your right, it's your responsibility. The last time I saw him was at his sentencing hearing. He looked older, smaller somehow, and when our eyes met across the courtroom, I felt nothing but pity. He had thrown away his relationship with his only daughter, destroyed his reputation, and faced criminal charges, all for money that was never his to begin with. As I walked out of that courthouse, I thought about the scared, confused girl who had walked into that bank 6 months earlier, clutching a portfolio full of lies and manipulation. She had been stronger than she knew, smarter than she'd been told, and braver than she'd ever imagined. And thanks to a grandmother's love, a bank manager's integrity, and her own quiet courage, she had won. The money was nice, of course, the house was beautiful, and the financial security it provided gave me options and opportunities that most 19-year-olds could only dream of. But the real inheritance Nana Rose had left me wasn't measured in dollars or property deeds. It was the knowledge that I was worth fighting for, that my dreams mattered, that intelligence and strength could triumph over manipulation and greed, and that sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply refusing to be the victim someone else needs you to be. Standing in the parking lot outside the courthouse, I pulled out my phone and called Mrs. Patterson, who had become something of a surrogate grandmother in the months since the trial began. "How did it go?" she asked. "He got 18 months, I said, plus restitution and community service. "And how do you feel?" I thought about it for a moment, watching the clouds move across the late afternoon sky. "Free," I said finally. "I feel free." That evening, I drove the Mustang back to Maple Street, where I sat in Nana Rose's garden and opened the letter she had left for me, one I hadn't been emotionally ready to read until now. "My dearest Emma," it began, "if you're reading this, it means you found the strength to fight for what's yours. I always knew you would. Your father thinks intelligence is something that can be measured in test scores and degrees, but real intelligence is knowing your own worth and refusing to let others diminish it. You have that kind of intelligence, sweetheart. You always have. I love you more than words can express, and I am so proud of the woman I know you'll become. The money and the house are just things. My real gift to you is the knowledge that you never have to make yourself smaller to make someone else comfortable. Be brave, be bold, be brilliant. The world is waiting for you. All my love, Nana Rose P.S. Check the glove compartment of the Mustang. There's one more surprise waiting for you." Curious, I walked over to the car and opened the glove compartment. Inside was a small velvet box, and nestled within was her engagement ring, a simple but elegant diamond that had belonged to her own grandmother. But it was the note wrapped around the box that made me cry. For the day you find someone who sees your brilliance instead of trying to dim it, who builds you up instead of tearing you down, who loves you not despite your strength but because of it. That person is out there, Emma. Don't settle for less. I slipped the ring onto my right hand, not ready for my left, but not willing to wait for someone else to give me permission to wear something so beautiful and meaningful. As the sun set over the garden Nana Rose had loved, I made a silent promise to her and to myself. I would never again pretend to be less than I was to make someone else comfortable. I would use my intelligence, my strength, and my voice to build the life she had dreamed for me. And I would make sure that her sacrifice, her final act of love and protection, would never be forgotten. The next morning, I started my sophomore year of college with confidence I had never felt before. My father's attempt to steal my future had failed, but more than that, it had freed me from any lingering doubt about my own capabilities. I was Emma Morrison, granddaughter of Rose Morrison, inheritor not just of money and property, but of courage and wisdom. I was smart, strong, and worthy of every opportunity that lay ahead of me. And I was just getting started.